But there is a whole new dimension which is at play when it comes to the IPO market. 2024 was nothing short of a bumper year for the IPO market. From energy companies to insurance companies, from niche real estate companies to fashionable names like Swiggy, they went public. The IPO market and the calendar year is not over according to Prime database. Last year has already, or so far this year has already garnered 1,90,000 crore. Really? Pranav Haldea, is the data right? 1,90,000 crore? I mean, this is like a record number, right? This includes, I would imagine, QIPs also. This is only IPOs.
Hi, good morning, and thank you for having me. No, so the calendar year 2024 figure for main board IPOs is at 1.59 lakh crores. That is for the main board IPOs.
So 1,90,000 crore and still looking strong, which means by the time the year closes rather, we could easily cross north of 2 lakh crore. That means the total IPO mobilization for FY25 would be approximately 1.5 times more than what we did in FY24.
Well, to be honest, I've not looked at the financial year figures, but on a calendar year basis, this year we've closed at 1.59 lakh crores, which is up from roughly 50,000 crores in 2023. So it has been a 3x jump as far as the main board IPOs are concerned. And yes, you're right. I mean, again, talking from a calendar year basis, given the kind of pipeline that we have right now, we have some 28 companies looking to raise 50,000 crores, which are already holding SEBI approval. Another 80 odd companies looking to raise 1.5 lakh crores, which are waiting for SEBI approval. And of course, you have the mega IPOs of Reliance Jio, Flipkart, Zepto, Tata Capital, NSE, which are yet to even be filed. So all things considered, if the secondary market continues to remain stable and has some buoyancy, you are likely to see a bumper year in calendar year 2025.
One should look forward to for this calendar year. For example, same time last year, we knew that a Swiggy would go public. We knew that a Hyundai would go public. Which could be the star names for this year?
Well, you of course have another Korean giant, LG, which is in the pipeline. You have HDB, which is a subsidiary of HDFC, which is in the pipeline. You have Hexaware coming again after having delisted a few years back. JSW Cement just received the approval yesterday. That's in the pipeline. And some which are already sitting with SEBI approval. So Leela Hotels is there, Ather Energy is there, Avance Financial Services is there, and NSDL is there. So these are some of the marquee names which are likely to hit the market in the near future.
Okay, lots of names really lined up in 2025 as well that one could watch out for. And I'm not sure whether NSC, etc. will come up with the IPO this year or not. That's another one that's been closely watched out for. But do you expect, Pranav, that there's going to be a lot more semblance in terms of the valuations? We have seen that listing gains have been quite bumper, at least in the last 3-4 months. Do you think greed might come back to the minds of these promoters, or do you think they've learned their lessons?
Well, my take on valuations is slightly different. At what point do we really decide whether an IPO was expensively valued or fairly priced or underpriced? Is it on the listing day? Is it a week after listing? Is it a month after listing? Is it 6 months after listing? Is it a year after listing? In my view, after a company IPOs, we should only consider the listing day and the closing price on the listing day and where it ends up to get a sense of the valuation of the IPO. The reason behind this is because on the day of listing, the stock becomes widely available for trading for all kinds of investors: retail, institutional, domestic, foreign, short, long, and hence you can say that there is some price discovery which happens. So in my view, the only point that you should consider for saying whether an IPO was expensively valued or fairly valued or cheaply valued is the listing day itself. After that, it becomes like any other 2,500 listed companies which are there on the stock exchange, whose share price will go up and down on the basis of the company's performance, on the basis of how the sector or the industry is performing, how the broader market is doing and broader economy is doing. So I think it's really an unfair kind of a study that we do, wherein we look at IPOs, at any point in time in the future and make a value judgment in terms of whether they were expensively valued or not. In fact, one extremely interesting data point which I pulled up before this interview to exactly look at this particular point, how are IPOs performing in the future? You would be astounded to learn that for all IPOs which hit the market in calendar year 2024, if I look at the average return till date, they have delivered a 47% average return. If I go back to calendar year 2023, that same figure is 96%. If I go back to 2022, that figure is 116%. And if I go back to 2021, it's an astounding 121%, and even more behind that. So the point being that if you look at actually the last 5 years, not only have IPOs delivered fantastic returns on listing, but have continued to deliver long-term returns as well.
What is your view on the way this entire SME IPO space is moving? The SME IPO index for the year gone by has given a return of 130 or 40%. I mean, that is, I don't know, I mean, it's not out of the park. It's like in the ocean.
Yes, absolutely. I think you've seen a tremendous amount of action in the SME space. You had 240 SME IPOs in calendar year 2024, which raised 8,800 crores. Again, another all-time high. A very interesting aspect on this front has been, how retail investors have really been attracted to this space. And of course, a lot of that has got to do with the, listing performance of some of these SME IPOs. And you've already seen a lot of, measures being taken by the regulator and by the exchanges to kind of bring down the activity in this space. But, this is an astounding statistic that in calendar year 2020, the average number of retail applicants in SME IPO stood at just 408. That means per SME IPO, only 408 retail investors were applying. That figure has now jumped to 1.9 lakh per SME IPO. This shows the amount of interest which this space is attracting from retail investors. My advice to retail investors here would be to be extremely careful. These are very small companies. The trading is extremely shallow. So, one needs to be very corporate governance practices. Of course, there have been a few cases which have already come to light, and the regulator has taken some action against such companies as well. So it's an extremely speculative and volatile space, and retail investors need to be extremely careful before investing.
Well, Pranav, appreciate your time and so glad you could join us with your thoughts. It's going to be another bumper year for the IPO market, and big ones actually. I mean, you look at the data and you say, oh my God, for the calendar year, the IPOs have mobilized more than 2 lakh crore, almost 2 lakh crore. And they're looking at the number of 91, which may be in and around last year's number. But the year is not done. And for FY24, I think it's just going to be another one of those, fantastic years.
If you like this video, then like, share and subscribe to ET Now.